वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Right, chapter 2 and the verse 44. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam Taya pahrutachetasam Taya pahrutachetasam Vyavasayatmika buddhi Vyavasayatmika buddhi Samadhau na vidhiyate Samadhau na vidhiyate. Those whose minds are carried away by such flowery words, who are attracted towards pleasures and who are deeply attached to pleasure and prosperity, cannot attain the determined intellect concentrated in God. Vyavasayatmika buddhi, naschayatmika buddhi. It's about determinate intellect, firm decision, firm conviction. Taya pahrata chetasam. Their mind means those who are only and only engaged with all worldly affairs. Their minds are carried away by such flowery language that there is great pleasure in heaven, there are celestial damsels, a blissful garden, there is nectar, etc. So all the description which attract them, I mean, why should we say attract them? Attract us, okay? And the minds carried away. Then we just put our all efforts to obtain that pleasure here and hereafter. But there is something above that. There is something beyond this kind of pleasure that Bhagavan wants to tell. It's not to criticize the Veda or not to criticize the heaven or the Swarga or anything. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam. Pleasures of five senses. We know that, okay? The sound, touch, color, taste, smell. This all pleasure that comfort the body. And desire for respect and praise are bhogaihi, the worldly enjoyment. Then it says about accumulation of money and material enjoy. All those worldly pleasures called Aishwarya, prosperity. Those who cling to pleasure and prosperity are called Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam. Such people are called Asuraha. Asur means demon, Rakshas. The definition according to Sanskrit, it says Asusu ramante iti asuraha. Asu means prana. Here it is translated is life breath. Okay. So the people possessing the mode of passion who are being described here have been called people possessing demonical traits in the 16th chapter. Yeah, the 16th chapter is Devasur Sampad Vibhaga Yoga, the qualities of Deva and the Danav or the Asur. Okay. And of course, when we'll reach to that 16th chapter, we'll see. But the first quality Bhagavan has described, what is the Devi quality, the divine quality, or the qualities for the celestial, Abhayam, fearlessness. And the first quality for the Asur or demon Bhagavan has described is Dambha, hypocrisy. Okay. So now we need to think which direction we are going. Are we developing in our lives for abhaya, fearlessness, or we are after the dambha, the hypocrisy? Okay. So in Sanskrit, asu stands for life breath or the life force. And he who wants to maintain life breath is an asura. Okay. So there might be a question that what's the point? Yeah. There might be a question, then what's the point? We don't have to look after our body. Don't we have to look after our health? It's not that. Here, life breath means only and only worldly pleasure or the material pleasure. Vyavasayatmika buddhi samadhau na vidhiyate. Such people who instinctively cling to pleasure and prosperity cannot attain the determinate intellect to realize God. I have explained so many times that intellect in our language, most of the sorry for the disconnection. Okay. So in our language, most of our language, we say intellect, buddhi. In Sanskrit also, buddhi word is.
Sorry, Bhai, just that recording again.
Okay. So, buddhi. Now, what is emphasized here? Because we are blessed as a human by Almighty that He has granted the intellect, the buddhi in us. And I have explained you so many times in our classes. That buddhi, there are three kinds of people. Okay. Buddhijivi, Buddhivadi, and the Buddhinishtha. Buddhijivi, they have got the intellect, okay? They just use it to survive, to earn their bread and butter. Buddhivadi, okay? There are people among us or in the society, they have good intellect, but they just use their intellect in argument, right? There is also a deep meaning of Buddhivadi, but I am just giving you only one. They just use for that. Whereas Buddhinistha, that whatever I am convinced by my intellect, I have to put in the practice. There are a lot of people in the society. No, the Bhagavad Gita is very nice. But have you ever tried to put at least something in your life? If not, then you are not Buddhinistha. So here, Bhagavan says that such people, okay, who instinctively cling to pleasure and prosperity cannot attain the determinate intellect to realize the God. Meaning, Bhagavan is emphasizing here by these words that the intellect, what we have granted, was used to realize the God. Because their intellect has become impure. Similarly, the people who have pride for their being learned by acquiring the worldly arts of science or knowledge, etc., cannot attain the determinate intellect, decision to realize the God. So this by acquiring the worldly arts or science or knowledge, those are falling under the previous two categories, Buddhijivi and Buddhivadi. Buddhinist are those who are using their intellect to realize God. All gracious God by His grace has bestowed discrimination upon human beings so that they may attain God or salvation, moksha. Again, the same sentence which I always use. The individual soul should try to get merged with the Supreme Soul or the Universal Soul. And that is, we say, Atma and Paramatma. But human beings given a cold shoulder to this discrimination, clinch to pleasure like birds and animals. They forget that enjoyment of pleasure is not the goal of human life, but its supreme object is to attainment of perfection. And all the circumstances, whether favorable or unfavorable, they are placed in our means to attain perfection, God realization. And that's why we all know that mantra our sages has given, Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Many people have translated this differently, but the essence is to motivate us or the motivate individual for the perfection. Okay. What it says, Purnamada Purnamidam, What is visible is the infinite. What is invisible is also the infinite. Out of the infinite being, the finite has come, yet being infinite. Only infinite remains. That is one explanation. Other explanation says, Om, that outer world is Purana. But Purana with what? Full with divine consciousness. This inner world is also Purana. Purana with what? Full with divine consciousness. From Purana is manifested Purana. From the fullness of divine consciousness, the world is manifested. When it says, well, we all. Taking Purana from Purana, Purana indeed remains because divine consciousness is non-dual and infinite. So they cannot have the sole desire for God realization. They just stuck with all that material world. The fact is that worldly pleasures and objects are not a real obstacle to God realization, but attachment to this is the main hindrance. So long as this attachment continues, not to talk of God realization. Yeah, that's, this comes in our day-to-day practice. Okay, the attachment, the worldly object or the pleasure itself not the bad. And that's why we always take the example of Shankaracharya. If we eat jalebi, we like it, it's sweet, we enjoy. And if Shankaracharya eats the jalebi, also will enjoy and like it. But we attach to that jalebi. Oh man, that jalebi I ate in the morning, or I ate it yesterday. Oh, I must eat it again. Shankaracharya also enjoyed. But Shankaracharya will not look forward when I will be getting the jalebi again. I'm just giving you an example, okay? Because their minds are drawn away by worldly pleasure and prosperity. If there is any obstacle to attainment of salvation, moksha, it is the desire for pleasures and prosperity, accumulation of wealth, as a stuck vehicle, okay, can't move ahead. Similarly, a man entangled in pleasures and prosperity can't move ahead towards God. Not only this, but the man attached to pleasures and prosperity can't even have the determinate intellect to realize God. So, of course, the determinate intellect, okay, as we need that to progress on the spiritual path, we need these in our day-to-day practice too. Okay? He who regards the world as true, to him Karma Yoga will quickly lead to self-realization. Karma Yoga means the person who is more interested about action. Look, there are three paths the sages or the great men or the wise men talk about the Karma Yoga, the Gnana Yoga, and the Bhakti Yoga. Karma, action. Gnan, knowledge. Bhakti, devotion. Okay. It looks different, but it's not. All three interlinked. They connected. Okay. But here it has been mentioned that the Karma Yoga, okay, he who regards the world as true, to him Karma Yoga, he will surrender all his actions to Almighty. To him, Karma Yoga will quickly lead to self-realization. A Karma Yogi serves the world by discharging his duty, because he will feel that this world belongs to Almighty. Okay? And all is His creation. So if I am serving those, I'll be performing my duty. I'll be performing my duty to serve His children. That is Karma Yoga. That is Karma Yoga. Okay. Now, a Karma Yogi serves the world by his duty. He does every action for the welfare of society. He will render his duty for the welfare, to make the world a better place. The Tukaram has, the Maharashtra Marathi Sant has mentioned in his Abhang, he has written, Avadhacha Sansar Sukhi Karun. This world belongs to God, and I'll make them happy. That is his resolution, you can say. This is the loose translation, and that's it, written in Marathi. There might be the words here and there, but I just give you the essence. Okay. So he does every action for the welfare of others in a disinterested manner. Disinterested manner means without any expectation. He feels happy with the happiness of others and is sad with the sadness of others. By feeling happy, seeing others happy, his desire for pleasure is wiped out, and by being moved at the sufferings of others, his desire for prosperity, accumulation is wiped out. Of course, then we have discussed that the 36 qualities as per the 12 chapters, right? Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitrah karunaya cha niramo nirahankara samudakha sukakshami. And these are the last 8 verses of 12th chapter. Adveshta, the loose translation, so no jealousy. Maitra, friend, Karuna, compassion. Because other is not other. He firmly believes that other is not other but is my brother. So how can I see him or her unhappy? His happiness is my happiness. Is he suffering? It's like that I am suffering. That's what he believes. That's what he believes. And that helps him for the spiritual progress. In fact, the real service is rendered by the person who has totally renounced the desire for pleasure and prosperity. Otherwise, the service is fake. But if the aim is real, be attentive. But if the aim is real for the welfare of others, then the fake service also turns into real service. Right? To confirm something, it is necessary that one should view the pros and cons of a matter. In the previous 3 verses, there is the description of the infirm in mind who are obsessed by desire. Now, Bhagavan Krishna inspires Arjuna to attain the ideal by being established in the eternal existence, transcending the 3 guna. Guna here translated attribute, and being free from desire. Okay. Now we will be starting verse 45th. Okay. Here we have completed 44 verses. Okay. So let's start verse 45. Triguniya Vishaya Veda Triguniya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nityasattvasto Nirdvandvo Nityasattvasto Niryoga Kshema Atmavan Niryoga Kshema Atmavan. O Arjuna, the Vedas deal with the 3 guna and their evolutes. Be free from those attributes. Rise above the polarity of opposites. Remain balanced. Be unconcerned about the meeting of wants and preservation of what has been already attained and get established in the self. Traigunya Vishaya Vedaha. Here, the reference is to the ritualistic portions of the Vedas, which deal with the 3 guna and their evolutes in the form of worldly and heavenly enjoyment. The purpose is not to censor the Vedas, but to glorify the selfless spirit. I told you last week also, okay, this session also I have explained. It's not that Bhagavan is against Veda. For the Ved, it is understood that those are impersonal. The correct word in Sanskrit is apaurushe. Nobody has written it. It came from Almighty. So it's not against, Bhagavan is not against the Veda, but Bhagavan is emphasizing for all of us that don't get stuck to the rituals only and move forward or the next level, that to realize the Almighty. Rituals are good, one must do it, but that is not enough. One must opt for something else that Bhagavan wants to explain here. Okay. So, in reference to, right, he has given the example of diamond, right? In reference to a diamond, a piece of glass is compared, the aim is to eulogize the diamond rather than to censor glass. The Vedas do not only deal with means to satisfy desire of the worldly-minded people, but they also contain sublime and elevating ideas on God and the means to realize Him. Nistray gunyo bhavarjuna. O Arjun, be free from the evolutes of these attributes. Be free from worldly enjoyment as well as means of attaining such enjoyment. Nirdvandho, for a striver to transcend the worldly enjoyment, it is inevitable to be free from the pairs of opposites, such as attachment and aversion, etc., because these are his real enemies and are the stumbling block in his spiritual progress, as per the 34th verse of chapter 3. Dvandva means having opposite feelings for something, as the feelings of attachment and aversion, pleasure and pain, etc., for the world. This misleads an aspirant to bondage. Okay. And that's why Bhagavan is saying, Nistraigunyo bhavarjuna, nirdvandvo bhavarjuna, bhava. Right, Bhagavan is emphasizing. Right, okay. This verse will carry on next week. Okay. Today we're going to conclude. Alright. In today's discussion, whatever you like, whatever you enjoy, credit goes to the scripture. Whatever I have heard, I have studied, I have read, credit goes to all great men, and not forgetting that our main reference book is Swami Ram Sukhdas Ji's commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and the book's name is Sadhak Sanjeevani. Okay, so we will recite the 73rd verse of 18th chapter. Nashto moha smrutirlabdha tvat प्रसादान्मयाच्युत स्थितोऽस्मि गतसन्देहः करिष्ये वचनं तव करिष्ये